Welcome to Dead Games No One Played, which is really an awful title for a show about Lord of the Clans, because had I done this show, 8 years ago, yeah, pretty much no one would have played it. But since then, the game not only has been seen on YouTube being played in an early version, but now everyone can play it. The game's files have been leaked on the internet and just anyone can play it. It's nearly the finished game, and when I say finished I mean from beginning to end. It is content complete. Oh, no, content complete would mean something else. It's basically the entire game, but it's not all there in terms of voiceovers, interactions, cinematics, but for the most part it is the entire game. You can play it from beginning to end. You can play the game that was meant to serve as a link between Warcraft 2 Beyond the Dark Portal and Warcraft 3. You can play the game that Blizzard decided wasn't good enough to be launched, even though, as you can see, it was nearly finished. Though to be fair, they didn't launch StarCraft Ghost either. It took them about a decade to actually cancel that one, and they also canceled Titan, and I believe there were 2 more games they canceled that they didn't do much with. Well, the original version of Warcraft 3 was also cancelled, but that's a story for another time. Warcraft Adventures Lord of the Clans began development about 18 years or so ago. Blizzard wanted to make an adventure game, one that would introduce the world to an upcoming character that would play a major role in the Warcraft franchise, that being Thrall, who is voiced by the Kurgan himself, Clancy Brown, who believed that his involvement with Warcraft in general was kind of a curse because anything he did didn't actually seem to get released. That curse did kind of break when he was in the Warcraft movie, not as Thrall because Thrall was a baby back then, but he did play Black Hand, which didn't really have that much of a role compared to Thrall in this game. This was sort of a prototype to a lot of what you see in World of Warcraft for Blizzard. And by that I mean that you don't play World of Warcraft for the gameplay, at least I didn't. I tried playing it for the gameplay. It was an MMO made after EverQuest. That's the best way I can describe it, and not have a billion people shout. Wait a minute, that would get hits. World of Warcraft has very crappy gameplay that's incredibly boring, repetitive, and well, it's basically not a very good game. But I did want to play it because of the story, because I liked Warcraft. I liked Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. I wanted to know more about those orcs. I wanted to know more about everything, about the lore. I loved it. And then I played it, and every second line was, "For honor, my honor, you have no honor. This no honor. Honor must redeem honor. Lose honor." I'm not saying I'm glad Medson's not at Blizzard anymore, but he judging from the way he goes on at BlizzCon, I think he may have written those. But he did also write the outline for this story as well. In an adventure game, Blizzard succeeded in giving you more of an insight into the lives of orcs and humans and the lore of the world in general in a way that's not as dull as World of Warcraft, because this is just story. This is characters, this is puzzles made within the world. It's not something based on gear and raids and stats, and, well, as much as based on stats World of Warcraft can be this day. I mean, you get a level 90 characters for free. Why bother with stats anymore? But in this game, you could learn about all the many orc clans and traditions and, well, just about anything you wanted. You even run into Zul'jin, which I'm sure I killed at some point in a Warcraft game, but from what I understand, he's back now, or at least some clone of... I don't follow the story anymore. Needless to say, most of what happens in this game isn't canon, It should have been. Instead, they decided to take the outline of the story, the scripts, and give it to a writer, like an actual writer, to make a book out of it, which was Lord of the Clans, which was then used as the background story for, Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft, with everything that relates to Thrall and his reunification of the Horde. Now, this is something that Warcraft 3 barely touched on. The internment camps, the camps where the trolls and orcs and, everything, ogres too, were put in after the second war, or no, the third war, after Draenor exploded, even though it didn't. This game actually shows you, though not in very great detail because I'm gonna get that, it shows you exactly how the orcs lived in those camps, how they were being dulled and drugged, basically. They were turned to alcoholics to keep them docile, to stop the Horde from rising in spite of what some other orcs like Rome Hellscream may want. But you do get the Horde back together, along with some dragons, and there's Deathwing in this. If you don't want to spoiler, just skip the next 10 seconds. You kill Deathwing in this, which is kind of bizarre because I thought Deathwing died in Warcraft 2. I killed him once at least in Warcraft 2. But then again, this is Warcraft, so yeah, it's kind of nebulous. And I do believe that Deathwing is voiced by Tony J. At least one of the orcs is voiced by Tony J, who, if you don't know, he is one of the greatest voice actors, ever. He has a very distinctive voice. He was the Elder God and Mortanius in the Legacy of Kain series. He was Megabyte and Reboot. He was a lot of things. Playing this game now, it's quite serviceable, I would say. Even in its unfinished state, it is a serviceable adventure game. One that, gotta say, Blizzard didn't actually do a lot of the direct work on it. They made a story, they recorded the voiceovers, they drew the backgrounds, they made this general, style of the characters and environments, and then they sent them off to Russia, where the same animation company that did the horrible CDI Zelda game handled the animation. Now, this game was being made in roughly 1998. 97 to 98. The animation quality is not utterly terrible. It's 8 frames a second. It looks, when it's standing still, it looks good. The backgrounds are very nice. The characters are, at least some of them are very detailed. They are quite well done for the company that made the Zelda CDI game. But this was years after Broken Sword came out. This was after, I believe, after The Curse of Monkey Island. There are games that look so much better and move so much smoother. But hey, graphics isn't everything. I mean, people still play World of Warcraft, even though World of Warcraft still looks quite fine in terms of graphics. The style really helped it out, but this is hand-drawn 2D, so it's kind of easier to spot where things don't look that well. So it is, in most parts, quite a nice game to look at. Again, it's not Broken Sword levels. Few things are, but it looks okay. And the puzzles were nice. They weren't utterly deranged, they were serviceable. Yeah, you could probably say that you've seen some of these puzzles in a lot of other adventure games, which you would have because, adventure games do often tend to have similar puzzle design. And also, this game was cancelled a long time ago and a lot of other adventure games came after it. I really can't find anything outright bad to say about this game. Yeah, it's not polished. That I can tell you for sure. It does lack polish. It does lack that oomph that you normally see in a Blizzard game. That shine to it. That magic. Though I have to say, the chickens are close to being that. What chickens, you may ask? Well, there's a quest, there's a puzzle in this game that requires you to steal some plants from a bunch of gnomes and replace them with some fake ones. And their plan is for a messenger chicken, a robot messenger chicken. and after you replace the plants with the fake ones, the chickens become defective. And all throughout the game, you're just gonna find robot chickens stuck somewhere around the screen. Now, I'm not sure if Robot Chicken took this idea from Warcraft and made Robot Chicken, but still, it's a nice little funny thing. That and the fact that Zul'jin stuffed a gnome that was crushed by a flying pig. It's a silly game. It's Warcraft. It's got that silliness that you see in World of Warcraft, but here, well, I'd say here it's a bit more, I wouldn't say logical, I wouldn't say rational, I'd say believable. A couple of things about World of Warcraft whenever I play it seem a bit nonsensical to the point of why does this thing even attempt to have a story? But here they're framed in such a way that the nonsense doesn't actually take away from the whole experience. Also, you kill a death knight with an octopus, but that's a whole other thing. Now, because this game was made in Russia in 1998 on 486s, which you can actually, funny thing, the leaked version has a lot of files that relate to the production of the game. There's even an inventory that shows what PCs were used to make this thing. It was probably leaked by someone that actually worked at the studio back then because it's nearly complete. It has a lot of files in Russian, like the script, the design document. There's about 600 pages if you want to read the instruction manual for the scripting language used in the game. And because it was so far away from Blizzard, they couldn't really communicate all that well, so that was also a factor to why this game was cancelled instead of actually trying to finish it, to improve it, to just polish it up a bit more. I've played worse adventure games. This one wasn't all that bad. But again, it didn't blow my socks off, mostly because it was launched unofficially 18 years too late. And as Bill Roper once said, you know, the guy that co-created Warcraft and who did all the voices of every character in Warcraft 1 and 2, but couldn't in this one because apparently you can't work on your own game if you hire actors because the Actors Guild will get mad at you and they have supernatural powers or something. But still, he said that had they launched Warcraft Adventures Lord of the Clans 3 years before they actually started work on it, it would have been something. And yeah, 3 years before, it would have been something. But after Broken Sword, it's kind of hard to be something in the adventure game space. And apparently also what they wanted out of the game changed with time, and the final result just didn't gel well with their new vision, which is something that happened with Titan as well. Still, you can find this game on the net. It's quite a serviceable adventure that gives you an insight to the lore of Warcraft as it was at one time. Some stuff is still valid, the jokes still work most of the time, and hey, it's a free game, which I hope won't get us a copyright strike or something like that. Activision Blizzard tends to do stuff like that from time to time. Hopefully not this time. And hey, if you don't want to play it, you can find playthroughs of it on YouTube. This is probably the worst time possible to do a show like this. Everyone is doing it. Like every single person on the web is doing a show about it. And I wish I could have done a better one. I wish I could have had the time to translate the scripts from Russian to something I can understand. But sadly, this is the reality of making daily content that sustains us a bit, instead of making content that is conceived to be the best it possibly can. But that's something to work on in the future. Hopefully. Till then, do give Warcraft Adventures Lord of the Clans a try. It's a perfectly, mostly serviceable adventure game with a lot of robot chickens in it.
There's an orc spy approaching.
I'll never get past them looking like this.
Thank you for watching this show. If you enjoyed it, please consider watching some of our other videos and maybe sharing them or giving a thumbs up if you feel like it. And if you really liked what you saw, please check out our Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you could help us make much better shows and get some rewards in the process. Or you could consider buying my book called Tale of Doom. Volume 1 is out now and available for just $2. And as always, if you thought it was horrible, you know where to find me and complain about it.